This is a quick hot tip video, how to set up your CO2 for a freshwater planted aquarium. You need some CO2 injection. I happen to have this unit right here from Co2 Art. We got a dual stage regulator. Woo, 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 woo. We can set the flow, what we want, and then we've got the bubble counter with the needle valve. I actually have 4 of them here, as you can see. Eventually this will run all 4 of the tanks in the fish room. Once we got that, pick whichever kind you want. I happen to currently use an Aquatech one. I've used Milwaukee's, I've used a whole bunch of brands, and they all work pretty well. If you maintain them and set them up properly, you should be fine. That's the first thing that you're gonna need. Second thing that you're gonna need is food grade mineral oil with no scent added. And we'll get to why we need that in just a minute. We need some snips like this. These happen to be the Husky brand, which the handle is broken off and I have a zip tie holding them closed. Well, I think the zip tie has got to go. Hot tip, always have a knife so you can cut zip ties off things like that. The other thing we need is a polycarbonate hose, is that right? I'll have links down below, and per the FTC regulations, yes, I get a kickback if you click the links and buy stuff. Now, this hose is rigid. It goes up to, I believe this one goes to 150 PSI. Yeah, 150 PSI. It's a 1/4 inch hose, pretty standard issue stuff. This stuff is rigid. As you can see, it comes in many different colors, so it's really easy for me to know which tank is running off of what. Now, the reason I use this stuff is because I go long distance from where my individual CO2 unit is, and this will hold whatever it is, the pressure I'm sending to a tank that's far away. It'll actually just send the correct amount of flow there. I use, what do I use? What's underneath my aquariums are generally homemade reactors. This one, I have a video about how to make this one if you want to check that out. I don't run mine to diffusers. I'm currently using one of these also, a Sarah brand one that you can buy and just connect it up. So that's pretty easy. Box is all dusty. That's life. Now let's get to setting it up. And of course we need a CO2 tank. It has condensation on it. It's nice and cold because it was out in the shop and not in here. This one happens to be a 5-pound. It's one of the small ones. All right, now we're down here at my little workstation. We got ourselves our CO2 tank. If you get it from a company that's worth anything, you'll get a brand new little felt. It's a compressed felt washer that goes in here, which is what goes right in here. So we actually take that collet, put it in there, right? That's what helps keep the seal. And every time you put a new CO2 tank on, you should put a new one of those in. The company I get my gas from gives me a new one with every tank, and y'all should, there's no reason not to use a new one every time. Even if it does cost you the 50 cents, just go ahead and spend the 50 cents because it'll save you quite a bit of money on lost gas. There we go. Tighten it down. Now, a hot tip for everybody out there. You will need to tighten that down tomorrow as the temperature comes to town. And I've lost my screen. There we go. Okay, so tomorrow you will need to tighten this down even more again. Sometimes you need to loosen it up a little bit. turn it and tighten it back down again. There we go. And yes, I use channel locks, and the internet will yell at me for scratching my regulator, but not a big deal for me. Now, the reason we need that mineral oil is that these little bubble counters here, they come apart, and as you can see, it's just a container that will hold some kind of liquid inside of it and let you know how many bubbles are coming out from the needle valve down here. I'm going to make sure that those are all closed, and we'll go ahead and screw that on. Make sure the other ones are screwed on. There's just a little rubber gasket inside there to keep it from leaking. So we get our mineral oil, which of course this is got to be a brand new one. I ordered this off of Amazon. I think it was $6 or something like that. So the reason we use mineral oil is that it's not going to evaporate. You can use distilled water or even fish tank water if you like, but it will evaporate on you. So take this, screw this back onto the top, and you know, I might be able to fill that up a little bit more, but I don't really want it to be super full. We've got ourselves a cut piece here. Now the reason that we use these cutters, right, is if you squish it like that with scissors, it won't make a good seal. But with these cutters, if you turn it a little bit when you cut it, it makes a perfectly flush cut. You're able to feed this through. And sometimes you do have to heat this up a little bit to get it fed through there, because it is a rigid line, so it is a little bit tougher to get through than a flexible line. But trust me, if you're running long distance like I am, you're going to want the rigid line in comparison. So put that on there. Then we're going to go ahead and tighten this down all the way tight. All right, we got it all set up. We got our solenoid is on. You can see the light now that I got it plugged in. Now I'm gonna work my working pressure up to 60 on the dual stage. As you can see, the tank pressure is well over 500. Is that like, I don't know, 700, something like that. You can raise and lower the working pressure if you like. See? Lower it down. And we can let a little bit off if we want. But we're basically going to open this needle valve until we get to about like that. I'm going to put the top back on here after we blew off all of our mineral oil. Alright. Well, there we go. So we can change our speed however many bubbles we want, however little bubbles we want. As you can see, the working pressure is dropping off now. So let me raise that back up. Hopefully get that to about 30. And then I can change my bubbles per second from down here at the needle valve down below. And I can change, speed it up, slow it down, close it off if I want. Make sure that they're closed off if I don't want it to do anything. And basically simple as that. And you can just have your CO2 running to 4 different tanks. Like I said earlier, the mineral oil, as long as there's no scent in it or anything like that, it's not going to harm the aquarium. It's not going to harm your fish or anything. And yeah, so that's a little how to set this up. What do you need? And let's go ahead and we'll lower this back down. And I'll go ahead and just gas off whatever CO2 was in the system. And we'll go ahead and set this up at a later date, and I'll show you how to do set up the reactors and stuff. So that's it for tonight. Late night tips. and tricks. Ow, my foot.